Amanda, two immortals go off together, one doesn't come back. We both know what happened. I'm sorry.
Look, Joe, I would know if he was dead. I would feel it.
Amanda, he's gone.
No, he's alive.
Well, you know, as they say, I'd rather be lucky than good. So I'm glad that Joe did come to my rescue at that particular time. You know, every character, every hero has to have a moment of luck, or a moment where, you know, something pays off that he's done in the past. And I think everything we do is going to come back to us one way or another. So what McLeod has done in the past with Joe has, you know, come back to him.
I don't know from a friend.
Hello, Mac.
It's actually made a man who is hell-bent on rules and lives by a code, and a secret code at that, made him actually break those, which is a big deal for him.
For thousands of years, the Watchers have lived by one single set of rules. We observe, we record, and we stay the hell out of it. I took an oath. I have to live by it.
So it's an honor, in a sense, for McLeod to actually have that happen to him. And I think, you know, sometimes there needs to have you need to have those moments so that that vulnerability of what would have happened if he hadn't been there.
How do you feel, McLeod? Naked? Helpless? Just as I felt when they took my rank and my sword?
You deserved it.
The Colonel was not very happy with McLeod because he was one of those guys who, back in World War I, was hell-bent on his own glorification.
I chose this duty.
Why? When you could lead men into battle instead. Share their glory. Hear their shouts of victory.
He was very much like a lot of the British colonels and generals at the time. It mattered nothing, the cost of human life, but it mattered more about winning or losing.
You can't do this.
We have left too many dead here to leave with nothing.
But the war is over. No one else has to die.
They die if I tell them to die. Put him.
And McLeod wasn't that. He'd seen so much death that he knew that it was not right to send these men into battle, knowing that the peace agreement had already been signed.
You are hereby stripped of all rank and privileges.
And had him incarcerated. At that point, Killian swore revenge and said, you know, when I get out, I'm going to get McLeod. Which, you know, if you've lived in incarceration for that amount of time, I'm sure you'll be kind of wanting to get your revenge to the person that did this to you, if you were able to stay as young as Killian did in that amount of time that you last in jail. Because usually by the time you've been in 40 years in jail, or 60 years, I'm not sure how long it was actually, it was a very long time, but you'd be an old man by that point, or dead. So, but he didn't, and nobody, I don't think, questioned the fact that he was still the same guy as he was that many years before.
You go into an episode of Highlander, or any show that you write, and you don't, in the beginning, when you start, think, I'm going to make this one complex and difficult. You go in and you try to make it work as best you can. And the story takes on a life and leads you in lots of different directions.
So what, did the other guy have a bigger sword or something?
Don't worry about it. It's just an old war wound acting up.
What's his name?
Killian.
Will he keep coming?
He'll keep coming. He's got good reason.
What sometimes may seem like a difficult episode in terms of the layering of characters and the intermingling stories, sometimes they come easier than the simplest, clear-cut lines. It's like, until it's revealed to you, and I don't know how the creative process works, I have no idea, I still think it's part of its magic, but until it's revealed to you how a story should actually go, it's all hard. It's all difficult. You don't see anything. You don't know what you're doing. You're stumbling blind until you actually see it. So this wasn't that difficult. I don't remember it as being a particularly difficult episode to do. What was difficult was fitting everything in a single episode. Maybe we tried a little too much.
Me, don't you?
We wanted to create a sexy young woman so that we'd have a young woman to play off Amanda.
Very pretty.
The Colonel was actually filmed 2 ways, and it must have been during a period when we were worried about how dark the show was getting, because in the original script, the character of Melissa actually gets killed by the Colonel.
Get it off me! Get it off me!
And it was filmed that way, but it was also filmed in a version in which she gets almost killed. And so the scene where she comes gasping into the dojo and dies or almost dies in Amanda's arms was filmed twice. And the tag was also filmed 2 ways, with Amanda either saying, she got killed because of me, or she almost got killed because of me. And in the final edit, it was decided to let her live.
She was trying to be like me. She almost died. And I just let her do this.
It was Killian's fault, not yours.
The whole structure of the show really is written as though she died, especially Amanda's extreme reaction to it, the fact that she leaves town because of her heavy weight of guilt. And yet we had just had a run, I think, of dark episodes that were depressing people, and we just didn't want it to be such a downer, so that we gave her a last-minute reprieve, which doesn't feel organic to the episode because her death would have been more organic, but it keeps it from being too depressing for the family hour.
What I liked about this episode was I liked the flashback. I love the flashback. I thought the World War I flashback was incredibly well done and is one of my favorites. When you go through the trench and you see all the people there, and McLeod comes out of the trench and is running towards the barbed wire fence, I mean, you're there. You have to understand that in doing Highlander, we had only 2/3. And that was a lot. We had 2/3 of the money that network shows have to deliver the same kinds of material. Sometimes half the money. And they don't have to do flashbacks to World War I. And somehow we managed. And a lot of that is thanks to Ken Gord, who was a line producer at the time. Or he would say creative producer. Sorry, Ken.
How did you...
I used to be in the Boy Scouts. I got a merit badge just for this.
The environment dictates the moves an awful lot of times. It seemed to be much more restrictive when you were looking through the lens of the camera than it actually was, because that area around the sort of underground vault that Killian had locked McLeod in was a long corridor with partial walls coming out like this. So you sort of got an arrangement that looked like a horse stable with the doors taken off. So you had all of these little alcoves. So when you were looking at choreographing the fight, you not only had this long barrel shot down the corridor, you also had the ability to go in and out between the wide areas in between the little semi-dividing walls, which is what we did. So I was looking at the way the scene was going to be lit, mostly like shadows and silhouette figures fighting, and as a result, because we could swing overhead and sideways with the full arm, was how to create this visual aspect of things coming in and out and back and forth. So it was actually not quite as restrictive as it looks. The time when it got really claustrophobic was when we took it out of that hall and we took it into this other area that had these massive concrete girders over top of it. The character of Killian now has very little room to swing the sword, so again, the environment dictates the moves, and it became sort of the vertical version of the area that we had just shot in. Instead of having space this way every couple of feet, now you have space this way every couple of feet, so it became more of a tracking shot for the camera than just shooting down this corridor. For me, the important thing in this fight scene was the reason for the fight. The big driving force behind this is revenge, revenge, revenge. So it's regardless of the physical parameters and the moves, this is very, very much a fight driven solely by character.
I've always had the theory that when you think you have too much material to fit into a script, that's when you have enough material to fit into a script. That if you have just enough story, in the final analysis, it's not quite enough story, and you'll have some scenes that drag or that are unnecessary just to fill out the time. And when you have what seems like enough material for 2 hours and you fit it into 1 hour, you have something that paces well and that really leaves people wanting more. There are some episodes in which the domestic version of the show, which is only 44 minutes long, is the better version of the show because that's how much story material we had.
I am Colonel Simon Killian. I was Colonel Simon Killian before you were born. I will be Colonel Simon Killian long after you and yours are dead.
There are other episodes where there was so much material that even the longer foreign version has scenes left out of it. And the Colonel actually is one of the latter. There are scenes that didn't make it into the Colonel because we had so much material, but it means that the episode itself, in this longer version, really works well. There's no fat on it. There's nothing that doesn't need to be there.